Well, from club statements to the highest of high lines, the EPL season took a turn for the bizarre last week. Time to bring some sanity and decorum to proceedings. Well, we'll see. This is Betting Weekly Premier League show. You with myself, Dan Roebuck, while Nigel Seeley and Jack Wright are with me as we plot our way through match week 12 of the Premier League campaign. Nigel, just back from Vegas. You were watching the EPL games from afar. We had the VAR debate at St James's, chaotic tactics at Spurs. I mean, from a betting point of view, do all these things make it tougher for punters? We've got lots of stoppages. The lines get suspended. I don't know if you're an in-play bettor or not. How did you see it? And how was Vegas?
Oh, hello. Good morning to you guys. Firstly, Vegas was good. Good trip. Really good trip. Not wild, not very wild at all. I'm more wild in Biggin Hill than I'm in Las Vegas, to be fair. So it's a bit like a Betty Ford clinic for me when I go away Las Vegas and abroad. Actually, I do all my damage here, and I sort of much more relaxed when I go away. So no, it was good. It was really good. U2 at the Sphere was the highlight. That was an life moment. That if anyone's getting an opportunity to go there, you've got
incredible venue. That
it's insane, and obviously. Yeah, it was good to meet up with all the guys from Bet Rivers. So it was really nice there. And they've got a lovely mansion there, which they film a poker show, which you can see on YouTube there as well. So make sure you watch that YouTube channel. So yeah, it was good. In return to the Premier League, I didn't watch the game, to be honest with you. I went to find the bar, and I was going that morning, and I didn't want to go too far off the beaten track, and I couldn't find the bar on Las Vegas Strip within sort of 200 yards of the Bellagio that was showing the Premier League football. I found a bar called the Beer Bar, which is pretty standard, nice place to go. And they just had loads of reruns of American football. And I couldn't be bothered to ask anyone to turn it over. So I was following up my phone and seeing the craziness in the WhatsApp groups.
Didn't miss much. So, not much happened.
Yeah, people were going wild about the match, but unfortunately I didn't watch it. But with regards to bettors, I mean, we get used to it, haven't we? I mean, it's nothing, I mean, that's what we've been used to for a season and a half now. And this season, I mean, I was falling out of love with football on soccer on Saturday when the overs cashed in the Sheffield United match. That was me done. Don't worry about what else happened. That was the moment. Forget Tottenham v Chelsea. That was the moment where I was heartbroken, and it took me about 48 hours to recover from that. So I didn't watch it, but I think as far as anyone's betting, this is what you got to get this is what you're going to get when you're betting in the Premier League. Now you're going to get 10, 11 minutes. You know what's going to happen. You need, it's crazy that we've 15 minutes to go or 20 minutes heading into the 80th minute in the Premier League, you can still sometimes get almost even money for the draw when you've got 11 minutes injury time. Just wild that you think that when I started betting on this kind of stuff, 60-minute mark, that was when the draw would be even money in play if the two sides were level. Now 80 minutes with the injury time, it's just absolutely crazy. But this is what we've got to cope with. This is modern game. This is modern football. Do I like it? I do not like it, but it's what we've got.
Jack, as Spurs were losing players to injury and suspension, of course, we are betting Wolves to win this weekend, plus 350 into plus 220 in double quick time on Monday night. I mean, bettors have got to look ahead, haven't they? And there was plenty on social media saying you've got to get stuck into Wolves for the next game because Spurs are going to have half a side out.
Yeah, I was too busy screwing my ticket up for Spurs to win that one. Couldn't believe after the opening 15 minutes that they threw it away themselves there. So maybe the pressure getting to Spurs. Certainly some of our players, I don't know. But I was looking at the unders in that one, to be honest, the Wolves game. No Neto for Wolves and say 3/4 of a new defence for Spurs. So there's too many unponderables in that one, to be honest. Will Maddison be fit or not? He plays a big part in everything creative. He was exceptional in that opening start to the game. So too much up in the air for me to get involved in the end in that. But I can see why people wanted to get involved, even if it was from a trading point of view.
Just one point about that, Dan. Just one point about the game. Sorry, I just want to interrupt. But I mean, Wolves are, mighty. How are they going to recover from the defeat against Sheffield United, where I touched on there? They must be absolutely heartbroken. I saw the guy give the penalty away in tears. I was shedding more tears than the guys in tears, but he was in tears. So like they've got to bounce back from that. How on earth that was? I mean, I still can't believe that cashed over 2.5 goals. But I mean, that is a huge thing to overcome for them. So we're talking about Tottenham's problems, but Wolves have got some big issues as well to overcome. So it's a trading bet that rather than the bet that I think you want to keep it. I wouldn't bet. I wouldn't trust either two sides at the moment.
Bit of pressure on the ref in that game as well after what's been going with Wolves over the start of the season.
Gary
and the Spurs.
Yeah, I mean, Gary O'Neill said he stopped talking to the referees, but then admitted that he was speaking to the referee after the game against Sheffield United. Yeah. Anyway, let's get into some previews, shall we? Because we've got some really good picks for you this week. We're going to start Crystal Palace against Everton. This is 10 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. Palace are the favourites here, Nigel, plus 145. Everton plus 220. But if you are a season ticket holder at the Holmesdale at Sellers Park, you're not seeing a lot of goals, are you, this season? Talk us through your play here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My brother is a season ticket holder, as I've mentioned a few times, and he's saying it's absolute dross that Roy Hodgson's putting out this season, and really, really disappointed. He rang me this week, see if I wanted to go to the Christmas party, something that we always go to every year, and I think there'd be more things given out at the Christmas party than there will be at this match here. I mean, it to me looks like the 0-0 detector did travel safely back through customs, and it's really starting to show the early signs of bleeping in this match. I mean, if you look at Crystal Palace, I mean, we know Eze's back now, but is he 100% fit? I'm not 100% sure that he's 100% fit. Said 100 there 3 times in a sentence, which is quite impressive. But obviously without Sahar, it's a massive goal scoring threat they've missed all season. Hodgson is very negative in his approach, and Everton are showing very, very slow signs of improvement for me. They're looking a lot stronger in recent weeks. Sean Dyche has had to ridden through some real tough criticism, but I thought they played really well against Liverpool. I know that they were reduced to 10 men, and then Liverpool should have ascended off another bad beat with the over 5.5 cards, which never cashed. I mean, honestly, let's just forget about this for a minute. Let's think about some of these bad beats that I've had. Honestly. If I had hair, it would have fallen out by now. But anyway, and it's been a tough season. But anyway, let's get back to this game. Everton is showing some signs of improvement. Calvert-Lewin is scoring goals. They look very good defensively, Everton. Very, very. Tarkowski's a great signing for them. And I think this here looks about 2 managers who are all about not conceding and being organised rather than going out to entertain. So I think they can absolutely nullify each other here. I mean, if you look at Crystal Palace this season, I'm going to steal one of your stats, or do you want me to leave it to you, Dan?
No, you can have it, mate.
I mean, I didn't notice it, but it was a great stat that you made on the WhatsApp group that Crystal Palace matches this season, every single one of them has been 0-0 at half time. I didn't know that. That's why I didn't upgrade the 0-0 detector. The 45-minute 0-0 detector was available at the duty free at Las Vegas. I wish I did, because it would have been going mad there. But I think here, I wanted to look at under 2.5 goals, but that was quite heavy minus money, and it was probably not for me. So I thought the best way to get against goals here would be under 2. Which is plus 125, which would be a push if it was 2 goals. It's a little bit more adventurous, but I think that the price differential between 2.5 and 2 here represents some play. I think these two sides very similar. In 2 matches at Crystal Palace at home this season against teams very similar to Everton. I think they played Nottingham Forest, and I can't remember the other team at the top of my head, but they drew 0-0 with both of those sides at the bottom end of the table. And last season, this match was also a 0-0 draw. So Palace at home against 2 teams in the bottom half or the bottom 6 of the table, both matches 0-0. And last season 0-0. And it wouldn't surprise me again to be another 0-0. Going to go for under 2 goals though, plus 125 on the Asian line with 2 goals a push.
Yeah, I like this one. Plus 125, under 2.5.
That's a kiss of death. That's the kiss of death.
Under 2.5 is minus 152.
He liked Luton the other week. He liked this one the other week. He liked Tottenham at the weekend. He liked your Tottenham pick on the weekend.
I know.
That's me done. Well, I'm going now. I've had enough about it.
Only 9 goals scored. Only 9 goals scored at Sellers Park in the Premier League this season. It's been a shocker if you've been supporting them. Plus 750 if you like 0-0 in that one. Bournemouth, Newcastle is the next that we're going to take a look at. And both of the boys have gone similar picks here. Bournemouth plus 400. It surprises me. Newcastle have been back minus 150, but they are injury hit, suspension hit. No Bruno Guimaraes, who picked up his 5th yellow card against Arsenal last weekend. And off the back of a tough defeat at Dortmund in midweek. But you've got similar bets here, Nigel. You can kick off with this one because you're both playing the Geordies, Nigel.
Yeah, I know we've got injuries. I know Dan Burns out. They've got both strikers out, but I think it's the opposition they're playing here is reason why I want to have this bet. I mean, I've been negative about Bournemouth all season. I'm holding a ticket on Iraola to be the next Premier League manager to go at 20-1. Why ain't he gone yet? I mean, come on, this has got to be. This is incredible. So, but I think defeat here ahead of the Champions League could probably spell the end of him. I'm hoping it could spell the end of him. Newcastle, I know we've got injuries, but this looks a huge match for Newcastle at this stage of the season. They're within touching distance of the top 6. The big 3 or 4 are pulling away now. Newcastle have to start winning the Premier League. I think if they can get a win in this match, which I think they will get a win in this match, I think that gives them a little bit of time to get the players back. We have the break for the international break. Then they come back with a huge Champions League match. I think the next Champions League match is in Paris against Paris Saint-Germain. So it's a really, really crucial time for them to just get a win here and keep in touching distance of that group. And I think they will. I think there's something about this Newcastle side. I know on the road they haven't been great this season, but we're saying about a team that haven't been great. They've gone to Sheffield United 1-8-0, and we're saying that we question them on the road. But it's the goals that Bournemouth concede that concern me. 17 conceded in 5 match losses. That's 5 losses in their last 6. 17 goals conceded. That is a big problem for them. They look terrible at the back. They look really weak every time anyone goes up against them. Eddie Howe has the incentive going against his former club. He's got a brilliant record against them. They played him 3 times last season. Didn't lose one of them. And they haven't lost his fixture since Bournemouth returned to the Premier League, and Newcastle going back there. So I think despite the injuries, I'm going to keep faith in Newcastle. I'm going to go for Newcastle -1 at +118. It's a bit of an enhanced way of getting with Newcastle to win the match, because I just feel that if Newcastle do win this, the likelihood is that if they score 1 against his Bournemouth defence, Bournemouth could capitulate and they could score 2 or 3. Regardless of the personnel they're missing, I think Bournemouth is so bad. So +118, Newcastle -1 with a push if they win by exactly 1 goal.
Slightly safer play, but similar theme from you, Jack.
Exactly the same, yeah. Slightly watered down version. So at -0.75 on the Asian line there, at -125. So any win for Newcastle will get us some profit on the bet here. Obviously, we need, again, 2 or more goal margin for Newcastle to get the full win. And it's on the same thinking, really. It's more against the opposition. I'd probably been looking at going against Newcastle if they'd been playing anyone decent. But Bournemouth are right down there in the mix. I'd imagine, Iraola will be under massive pressure. Can't believe there's not been a manager sacked yet in the Premier League since the season started. Lopetegui, the only one to have gone prior to the kickoff. I think it'll be a mad scramble who's going to be the first one to go come this international break. There might be 2 or 3 with their P45 in hand very soon after these round of fixtures. But they concede lots of goals. I think the great thing for Newcastle is that everyone they're brought into this squad, they seem to have a very tight-knit squad. Anytime there's an injury, and there's been several, whoever comes in steps up to the plate and delivers. We've seen it with Isak being out, Wilson being out. Anthony Gordon's really come on leaps and bounds. He scored 5 goals in 11 Premier League games, so a brilliant return from him. He's been used quite central. Dan Burns out. They've got Hall coming into that position. Lascelles has been the latest one to go in at centre-half, and it's been a seamless transition. So that all goes well. And Bournemouth don't seem to be able to play under Iraola. They don't seem to play his style. They're leaving themselves open. And it's another good thing for this bet, I think, is if Newcastle had to go from coming back against Dortmund to then go against the side where they had to make all the running, I think that would be a tougher ask. But this Bournemouth side will attack, but they leave themselves wide open in transition. They leave themselves get the press all wrong, and they just leave themselves open. And I think Newcastle can cut through them, and they've got the players to make the most of that. Key stat for me, as far as Bournemouth conceded the second highest amount of shots, they've conceded the second highest amount of shots on target, and Newcastle are the most lethal side in the Premier Division. The best shot accuracy at 44% and the best goal conversion rate at 18%. So given loads of chances, they're more likely to take them and get the job done. So Bournemouth's stats are awful. Only Burnley have got a worse goal scoring record than them, and only Sheffield United have got a worse defensive record than them. And we all know what Newcastle did to them when they travelled there. And that was also directly after a Champions League game.
Good stuff. So we're both siding with Newcastle. We're all siding with Newcastle. Slightly different ways. -1 at +118, -0.75 at -125. Villa, Fulham next up. The boys have got selections on this as well. And again, fairly similar. Villa are favourites, -186. They do take on AZ in European action tonight. Last time we previewed the Villa game, overs, backers, moneyline players, both teams to score. Yes, betters all took a bit of a beating. But this time around, Nigel, we're backing Unai Emery's team to get back on track. That's just a blip, was it, against Forest last time out? They take on Fulham. We should highlight here, Villa are at home at -186, Nigel.
Yeah, I gave it the big one for Fulham last week. hit the top 4, teams to follow, and then they go to Nottingham Forest and put in their worst performance of the season. But we've been saying about them all season long about how strong they are at Villa Park. Villa Park is one of the toughest places to go and get a result in the Premier League at the moment, without a shadow of a doubt. And not only do they get results, they get results with style. They really entertain in front of their home crowds, what Emery has done here. I mean, if you look at their home record this season, it's phenomenal. They played 5-1-5, scored 19 goals in that period and conceded 4. That's in their home Premier League matches. That is some going that. I mean, admittedly, they haven't played really the best teams. I mean, their toughest challenge with Brighton, and they won 6-1. So they played teams at the bottom half of the table. But that's all we needed for this bet. I mean, we really have to look at Aston Villa as a threat for Champions League positions or a threat for top 6 when we see them at home against teams in or around them. Their fixture list has been very kind at home. So, but when they've played teams in the bottom half, they've smashed them up. Everton 4-0, West Ham 4-1, Luton 3-1, Palace 3-1, and Fulham are of that ilk. They are a side in that bottom half. And probably, I'd say Fulham are probably, from an attacking point of view, a lot worse, obviously, than those sides without the threat that they have with Mitrovic. Fulham have gone to teams sort of the top end of the table. They got beat by Tottenham quite comfortably 2-0, but it was a very one-sided match. They got beat by Manchester City, I think it was 5-1. And they got a draw at Arsenal, which was a good result for them. But other than that, they usually go away on the road and get beaten quite heavily against these sides. So they're going to Villa Park, which has been an absolute terrible place for them over the years. I mean, I'm not one to look at the records, as I keep saying on this show, too much. But the record that Fulham have here is shocking. They've only won once in 50 years. And they played a lot of times in that game. You know, we talk about some matches where teams haven't played a lot in that period, but these two have played quite a number of times. So it's quite a relevant stat. But the last time they won, Villa won 50, well, they won once in 50 years. And 50 years ago, in 1973, the second time they won, an act that was playing in Las Vegas was on the Las Vegas Strip was number 1 over here in the UK in the top of the charts. Who
Adele.
was that act? No, 50 years ago. 50 years ago. Who was number 1 50 years ago?
Elton John.
Elton John. Come on. No.
Elvis.
Oh, God.
How was he on the Strip last week? Good.
Elvis. He's still playing on the Strip. Elvis. There's a lot of lookalikes there, but come on, man. You've got one more guess. One act 50 years ago was number 1.
Beatles.
Neil Diamond.
All right. Now, you're both absolute. It was Donny Osmond.
Oh.
The 12th of Never. That was number 1 50 years ago when Fulham beat Aston Villa. So there you go. Interesting stat there. But, I can't believe the Beatles and Elvis Presley. I mean, what is going on there?
I only said Neil Diamond for Sean Calvert. I know he loves him.
He loves a bit of Sweet Caroline. All right, Aston Villa, -1 is the bet here. I mean, it's covered in every single one of the matches so far this season, all against teams in around sort of the level of Fulham. Fulham, to me, team indifferent, young side, few injuries, few players out at the moment, some key players out. Fulham on the road, I wouldn't be trusted. Aston Villa get back to winning ways here and get back to winning ways well as they do in front of their home support. Aston Villa -1. Please don't nod your head, Dan. I want you to disagree with me. At even money on the Asian handicap. Money back if Aston Villa win by exactly 1 goal.
Oh, people have got to get creative with Villa these days because they are short price favourites at home, and Jack has done just that. Jack, we know that you like the Villa win here, so you can touch on that briefly. But the thing that'll kick it a little bit more towards even money is your selection on Villa's team goals. Talk us through your play.
Yeah, simply Villa to win and score over 1.5 team goals. So obviously, as long as they win and score 2 or more goals, regardless of the score, then this one gets a full win at -130. Nigel's touched on how good Villa have been. Obviously, I was on Villa last week as well. And it was a disappointing performance. Look at the stats. They were the better side, but where it matters on the scoreline, they weren't. So we'll look to bounce back from that, and they have bounced back well this season. They have lost 3 games now. The first 2 that they lost the first game of the season, 5-1 away at Newcastle, came back and beat Everton 4-0. Then they lost 3-0 at Liverpool, came back and beat Palace 3-1. So those kind of results are what we're looking for here. They have been exemplary at home this season and obviously at the back end of last season. So 12 consecutive wins in the Premier League now and scoring goals for fun as well. 10 of the last 11 wins at Villa Park, or even 10 of the last 11 games at Villa Park, they've won and scored 2 plus goals. So very consistent. They've got goals all over the pitch. We've touched on it before. As I said, extremely strong at home with that Villa Park crowd right behind them, that old-fashioned ground. But same thing, it's this kind of match made in heaven, really, is that Fulham have been a side that we've regularly looked to fade this season. So we get the chance to do two things that we like to do: get Villa on side and back against Fulham. Nigel Wright, again, saying that they're awful as far as their forward process is concerned. We know the struggles that Jimenez has had, they continue. Vinicius doesn't look like a Premier League striker. They've shows you the sign of the team in trouble. Munoz has been at Villa and at Fulham for a couple of seasons, been out on loan, come back. They've deemed him not good enough, but he's now been getting game time for them as they desperately look for someone to score goals. Only 5 goals from open play so far this season from 11 games. That's only better than Luton and Sheffield United. And we know how they're struggling. So Luton are just above that kind of bottom 4 or 5, but they don't look like winning games. They don't look like scoring goals. So as you said, Villa can take care of business against those type of sides very, very well indeed, and expect them to do it comfortably and put on a bit of a show here ahead of the international break for their fans.
Good stuff. Top 6 Villa, Nigel, plus 130. Would you play at plus 130 top 6 Villa?
Yeah.
Seems fair. Seems
Probably
fair,
would.
doesn't it?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. I would. I mean, last week I made the case to potentially make the top 4.
Yeah, they're plus
600
top 4. I think it might just be beyond them, but they'll be close.
I think the reason for that bet last week was the suggestion that I didn't think that Tottenham would last the distance, and I thought the price difference between the two, Villa and Spurs, was too big. Yeah, but I think Villa, if they can keep this home form running, why not? I mean, they keep going. They're going to be hard to beat at home. They're going to definitely be in the shake-up for sure.
Jack?
Yeah, I like that plus money on a top 6 finish. Yeah. My ratings have them 5th, 6th. So, top 3, and then Tottenham and Newcastle. I say Tottenham will probably regress down a little bit. So I think, yeah, absolutely.
We're talking about them finishing ahead of Man United and Chelsea. Really, that's what the market says.
And Brighton on the other side. On
right. Yeah, Brighton have gone. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Sheffield United at home at the weekend. They win that.
Yeah. 0-0. Chelsea, Manchester City next for Jack to tackle. This is the big game, or at least TV companies thought it might be when they put the fixtures out at the start of the season, or whenever they did for this one. But obviously Chelsea have been poor. Chelsea plus 360, Manchester City minus 132. The draw is plus 275. This is Sunday, 11:30 Eastern. Jack, we had 2 different narratives really off the back of that Spurs-Chelsea game. One was how brave Spurs were to stick with this high line when they were down to 9 players, and Ange Postecoglou getting a lot of credit. And then when the dust settled a little bit, it was like, well, hang on a minute, Chelsea still won easy. They were a bit patient, and eventually their 11 versus 9 told. How did you see Chelsea off the back of that, and what do you think they might achieve or not against Man City?
Yeah, I'm still not sold on Chelsea after that performance. The start of the game is crucial for me and key as far as this bet is concerned. I was looking ahead knowing that this Man City game was coming up and seeing how Spurs played them, and they did absolutely blow them off the park in that opening 15 minutes. The gaps that were between the lines, that Maddison was dropping deep, pulling the strings, and also out wide. And all I could think of was City have got the players that are going to absolutely have a field day against them. And obviously Chelsea at home will have to have an element of kind of front foot about them to some degree. And I just think that will leave to Man City having the players to exploit those situations. We've talked about Doku for Man City, certainly hit the headlines this last week or so. Normally, would we expect a season of kind of settling in, especially for those kind of forward positions? We've seen Sterling and then Grealish take probably a season to bed in and then hit the straps in the second season. Here he is, half a dozen games into his Man City career, assists, goals, and exciting performances. And he adds another string to this City bow that is already well stocked, isn't it? So I thought Chelsea showed that kind of inexperience and naivety a bit myself. I thought that was that for Chelsea, that they just didn't have the kind of the necessary patience or the wherewithal. You could see Pochettino getting really frustrated with that they weren't really following orders as how to break down a 9-man team. And then when they did get in front, finally, 2-1 with 15 minutes to go, they conceded chances against a 9-man Tottenham. Son had a chance right at the very death. There was the Dyer one that was marginally offside by VAR, wasn't it? A great finish, which were equalised. Bentancur had that chance from the set piece as well. I think the stat was that Tottenham had 7 shots between Chelsea going 2-1 up and then getting that third goal well into injury time. So they were naive. They did show their inexperience. They have got a lot of young players. And I just think that this Man City machine have so many players and have clicked into gear a little bit earlier than what we expect. We don't normally see them kind of top of the table at this point in time. We normally have to wait until the new year that they then go on an unassailable run. But they seem to have clicked into gear nicely. Haaland's back amongst the goals. The concern was he possibly was going to be injured with that ankle injury. Like 6 goals against Bournemouth, and he wasn't involved in any of them, either assist or a goal, was it? And he got 45 minutes. So then back with 2 goals in midweek in the Champions League. So I just feel that Man City have got so much here, and again, a bit of a statement win to put Chelsea back in their place. Obviously, haven't had a little bit of a pick me up from that win against Tottenham, but what I really looked at was that initial part of the game when Son looked like he'd put Spurs 2 up. It could have been looked like it was setting up for being a 3 or 4-0 by half time kind of job, such was their domination. But yeah, I just feel that City have got the tools to really hurt Chelsea here, who have looked a little bit vulnerable in recent weeks at the back. And so you don't want that with the talent on the pitch and on the bench waiting to come on for City. So I'm taking the win here.
So
taking the win, minus 0.75 handicap at minus 108. So the same as bets that we talked about previously. A win of any description for City gets us some kind of profit, 2 or more goals for the full win. 2 or more goal advantage for the full win.
I do like that one. Nigel, do you like that one?
I did until you said that. But,
no, my question, Nigel, my question to you is not whether you like the bet or not, because I know you do. How big a deal is it that City have qualified for the knockout stage of the Champions League with 2 games to spare in terms of how they play in the Premier League?
No big a deal at all. I mean, they went on the best run you've ever seen in the Premier League, winning Champions League semi-finals and quarter-finals last year. And they went on that winning run that won the title, where an Arsenal side that weren't in Europe couldn't keep the pace. I mean, they're just a monster, aren't they? The one thing that Man City are exceptional at is when they lose, they bounce back. I mean, they lost against Arsenal, and Arsenal were going crazy. Oh, we're going to, the Arsenal fans, oh, yes, a brilliant statement win, and all this kind of stuff. Since that defeat, Man City have won 6 on the bounce and scored at least 2 goals in every single one of them. And Arsenal have dropped points. That's what they do. I mean, they're just the machine, and they keep going. But the one thing I would say is that they've got some. I think if they get on a good run again by Christmas, this title could be over, because their run of fixtures next. They've got Chelsea away, they've got Liverpool, then they have Tottenham, and then they have Aston Villa away, and that's their next 4 Premier League games. If they get 10 points from that, which they can quite conceivably do, then who's going to catch them? I can't see anyone catching them, and they've already got qualifications sorted already for the Champions League, and 10 games in the bag there, 10 points in the bag there. Then they have a run of Luton, Crystal Palace. They're not going to drop points there. I mean, then Sheffield United. So it could be done by Christmas if they can get through this period, and this period is crucial from. On the Chelsea point of view, I'm not so negative about Chelsea. I think I've always said Pochettino is one of the best managers in the Premier League. I think he's a brilliant manager. I think he'll take time, but he'll get them going. And Chelsea just don't know the best team. When they know their best team and have some familiarity about them, some players get back. I'm looking at Chelsea to win the FA Cup. I've said this many times in the show. They've got a brilliant record in the FA Cup. If they can get the striker back as well, injury in January, and they start scoring goals again, and they know their best team, Chelsea will be a very, very, very different time come January. But I still think Man City will win this game, but I don't think it'll be easy. I think Chelsea will probably score. I think both teams will score. It could be a high-scoring match. I wouldn't be betting unders for sure on this one.
Yeah, I do agree. I think Chelsea will come right, and Pochettino is the man to do that over time. And then Kunko coming back will be big, because it will take the strain off Jackson, who we see can get in lots of good scoring positions, but it takes about 8 to get 1 or 3 in this case. But I think in time, certainly towards the end of the season, I think they could be a force. But at the moment, it's a little bit up and down, as shown, and they're not been good at home this season either. They've been better away from home than at Stamford Bridge. So I think a side in transition against what was a well-oiled machine, there's only one winner for me.
We've got some leans for you this week. Unofficial picks: Man United, Luton, 10 a.m. Saturday, Eastern. Jack, you've got an interesting play here. That's Obviously, unofficially, it's not a pick. It's a massive price. Well, a couple of massive prices. Just talk us through this.
Yeah, it's just a couple of stats this week that caught my eye that I just wanted to kind of share, really. Man United, we know, have had a traumatic season. How it keeps getting worse. It's hard to believe, really. But even last night, we saw them take a 2-goal lead and then managed to get a man sent off, get back in front at 3-2, having thrown that away, and then still lose. So the key thing here is their home form, which was so good. 31 consecutive games unbeaten until Brighton went there this season and won. But this season, the first game was against Wolves, which they won 1-0, didn't they? And that was 0-0 at half-time. The old detector was probably ringing off for that one. We know that very well. But since then, 5 successive home games in the league, and they've been trailing at half-time in all of them, which has never been done before by Man United. It's a record for them, a bad one, of course. They have come back to win 2 of those games against Brentford and Forest. So it's just, a little bit of a bit of pizza money, we call it, isn't it? That if Luton can get a goal in the first half, get their noses in front in the first half, they'll be going into this one fresh after United have just come back from that Copenhagen nightmare last night. They might, you know how they're going to play. They might well nick a goal. And then if United can turn it round, you're getting plus 2,000 on Luton to be winning at half-time and United to be winning at full-time.
Like that one, half-time, full-time play. Luton just to be leading at half-time is plus 600, incidentally. A word on United's form. Nigel, I keep wanting to say that they've been unlucky in games, but they keep on putting in performances that ultimately end up seeing them getting nothing.
Players not playing with any desire, manager not knowing what to do with the players. He's got players just simply not good enough. That's it. I mean, they're being priced up on reputation and name rather than what we're seeing currently. I mean, really, on the Premier League, where are they? They're on. If we look now, where you would pitch Manchester United, 10th best team in the Premier League, maybe 11th.
They're eighth in the table, but I think you're probably right. They're probably worse than Brentford and Chelsea.
Yeah, so they're probably about the 11th side. You know, that's where Manchester United are at the moment. I mean, and they need to be clear out, and it's going to take a long time. And when we can keep getting these silly prices about them in Champions League, especially, then you've got to keep taking them while they're available. But I think it's a real long way back for Manchester United. I look at Chelsea, I think they can come back. I think they've got a great manager. They've got some young players, young talent, lots. You can see a lot of things coming through in Chelsea. He's going to be a player in 2 years. You can't at Man United. You just cannot see where it is. It's a massive clear out, and it's going to take a long. It's taken. And when did Alex Ferguson retire? How many years ago was that now? 12? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
10.
Well, there you go. So, I mean, that we're still waiting for this kind of thing to happen. And unfortunately, it looks as though it's going to go on for a long, long time because what we're seeing, it's not going to happen overnight.
Let's quickly.
They can't deal with crosses either, can they, Dan? Like, I don't know how many goals were conceded from crosses into the box last night. It was
they were poor. I mean, Maguire and Varane, as it finished with, because Johnny Evans went off early. I mean, Maguire was all over the place. I mean, you can argue the penalties all day long, but balls into the box, they have an awful lot of problems. Seem to picking runners, seem to just defending. Yeah, we've got 3 little stats here when it comes to the Liverpool-Brentford game, which is 9 a.m. Sunday. Talk us through these individually here, Jack. Salah, first of all, scoring record on the line.
Yeah, he scored in all 5 the first 5 home league games for Liverpool. He's only the 3rd player in Liverpool history, and they've had some decent players over that period of time to have done that. And if he does score a 6 successive, he'll be the first player to do that. The last player to get 5 was Aldridge back in 1987. So this would be a new record, another one for Salah to set if he can score. He's obviously on penalties as well, and they've had 4 penalties this season, 3 of those at home, and the referee's Paul Tierney for this one. And Paul Tierney has given 6 penalties in his last 16 appearances. He's given 1 in each of his last 2. He's also given 1 to Liverpool in his last 2 appearances at Anfield. So it possibly stacks up for Salah, who is on penalties, to be able to do it that way, maybe.
Yeah, Salah plus 310 to score first, plus minus 107 score at any time. Penalty to be awarded plus 180. A Liverpool penalty plus 325. And another little half-time, full-time potential play here, Jack.
Yeah, we know Liverpool like to roar out of the blocks, but they've not been great at doing that. They tend to concede early, if anything, recently. They're up against a Brentford side here. They're only one of 4 sides that are yet to trail at half-time away from home. Chelsea, Tottenham and Man United, bizarrely, are the other 3 in that. But Brentford are the only side in the Premier League yet to concede a first half goal away from home. So they'll be looking to try and keep that record going. So maybe even more focus on that defence, given Liverpool's record at home, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, tie Liverpool half-time, full-time, plus 375 last. I looked at Nigel after that Luton draw for Liverpool. Are they still title contenders? Plus 700. I'm on them. I know you've backed them as well. I've backed them on the handicap as well. But that was disappointing against Luton for me.
Should have won it, shouldn't they? I
Yeah.
mean, come off it. I mean, what was their XG? It was almost 4. I mean, that 3.7 or something XG. I mean, Darwin Núñez. I mean, how he would have nightmares about that. I mean, to be fair, you might look at it in terms of a big point. You might turn around and say to yourself, that could be a massive point to win the title. So it depends how way you look at it. He should be winning that match, but the performance you can't argue with. And they've got Diaz coming there with his parents are being abducted. I mean, God, and he's putting a performance like that. What state of mind must he be in? If my parents were abducted, I'd be absolutely, I wouldn't be able to play. But if my kids were abducted, I'd probably score a hat-trick. I'll keep them. They'd be paying me within a week. So I mean, it's amazing. So you can look at it 2 ways, can't you? You can look at it 2 ways. But I still think Liverpool will be around. I think the big match of Liverpool's next, after the international break, straight in Man City. That's it. Get something from that and we're game on again.
We'll have a full preview for that one for you, of course, after the international break. Final couple of bits of business. You've got a free $5 play on the money line, Wolves Spurs, which is the early kickoff on Saturday, 12:30 local, 7:30 Eastern. Nigel, where's your $5 going?
Draw half time.
Draw half time. Jack, where's your $5 going?
Mine was going to be draw full time.
Okay. I think that's an interesting one. That I think Spurs need. If Spurs are going to be serious title contenders, and the market suggests that they're not, they're plus 1,200. They've got to win that game. I don't think they will.
I think Spurs would want to be showing they're not Spursy and having.
I think that's the point, isn't it? They need something. They need to win that game off the back of what happened on Monday night. Best bets, Nigel. What's your best bet this weekend?
I think it's got to be Aston Villa -1 at even money.
Jack.
Same for me.
Villa to get back on track after disappointing all of us last weekend against Forest. They take on Fulham at home. Nigel, a week off for you?
Yeah, no, I'm away on Tuesday to Italy.
What, again?
Yes, I'm going to Italy for the tennis. It's the ATP Tour finals. It's the last tennis tournament of the year. So I'm over in Turin on Tuesday for the tournament. Maybe very much colder than Las Vegas, that's for sure. So I'm away on Tuesday. It's international break, so obviously there's no show, so I'll be there Tuesday to Thursday.
Wonderful. Jack, what's your plans for the weekend?
Yeah, I'm jet setting as well. I'm off to Norfolk this weekend for a 40th
beautiful
birthday party. Yeah.
Nigel, Chuck, thanks for your company. Good luck with your picks. That is a wrap for week 12 of Betting Weekly Premier League show. International break, as we alluded to, next week. We'll be back the following Thursday for the best bets on the EPL. Stay across all of the Betting Weekly content, though, via @BecauseWeWin. From all of us for now, it is goodbye.